Good morning. As we prepare to begin worship here at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of York, I'd like to welcome you. I am your minister, Jen Raffensperger. Please take a moment, take a breath. We know today already hasn't gone as planned, and we invite your grace and the grace for all of us who are working with this technology. I'm going to sound the bell 3 times. Please center yourself for worship.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry for the delay. Welcome to our Sunday morning worship service, brought to you from the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of York. I am Mary Barnes, and I will be helping to lead our service this morning. I am proud to be a member of this congregation, where I feel a deep connection to others who share the same values and principles as I. I felt this so strongly last week during our in-gathering service, when we met in person and had a chance to reconnect with each other. I felt such joy seeing old friends and seeing the many children I had the privilege to work with over the last few years. It amazed me how much they had grown, or perhaps I shrunk. Hopefully we will be able to be in person again soon, but until then, I hope we can connect virtually. Our mission here at UUCY is to be a transformational faith community that serves the religious and spiritual needs of a wide and diverse group of people. A community that engages in the work of social justice, as our faith calls us to create a more equitable world and guides our children to become more engaged global citizens. If you are a first-time visitor to our Sunday morning Zoom services, please feel free to introduce yourself by writing your name in the chat box and anything else about yourself that you would like to share. For more information about our congregation, please visit our website or contact us at welcome_team@uucy.org. Everyone joining us virtually is also invited to type in the chat box any matters of the heart that they would like to share with the congregation today. They will be announced later in our service. As is customary, whenever a Unitarian Universalists gather together, we begin by lighting a candle in our chalice. Our candle flame represents the flaming chalice that is the symbol of the living tradition of our faith. We also invite everyone at home to light a candle as we share our chalice lighting words. Our chalice lighting words today are from the Reverend Joanna Lubkin. They are entitled, Toward Repair of Relationship. We light this chalice in honor of Yom Kippur, the Jewish Day of Atonement. May its flame call us to search our souls, sifting through the past year to see where we may have missed the mark. May its light guide us toward the courageous and open-hearted apology, toward repair of relationships in our lives. May its heat warm our hearts to offer forgiveness to those who have wronged us, allowing us to release the chains of grudge and blame that have bound us to them. And may its strength help us take the actions that are within our power to make this next year more just, more loving, and more peaceful for our communities and for all of humanity. And let us say, Amen. And now we invite those of you at home to join in singing, while still muted, our hymn, I Know This Rose Will Open.
I know this rose will open.
This morning, we're going to be doing our traditional annual blessing of the backpacks. Matt will be leading that in a moment. But at this year and at this new beginning, we wanted to acknowledge another important piece of our daily lives. We have some visual representations provided for us by Lisa this morning. When we go to school or work, anytime we leave our homes, we're almost always carrying a mask. Even as we acknowledge that there is some pain and struggle around this decision within our larger community, we want everyone who chooses to wear a mask to know that we appreciate the caring and commitment that shows. And again, today, Lisa has generously supplied us with these beautiful masks to represent those we each have with us today. And recalling last week's water communion, after all, anyone can bless. We have an abundance. We think of blessing as setting a good intention for the use of the object and for the person who carries the object with them. It's also a way to speak gratitude for those tools we use every day. I'll hold these masks, and I'll invite you at home to maybe hold a favorite as we speak these words of blessing. May our masks help to keep each other safe and well. May our mask be an outward sign of our inward commitment to one another. May we take joy in our masks even when they feel like a chore. May we select masks in bright colors even on dark days. And may we be grateful for all those good intentions built up around our masks. So may it be.
Good morning, all. It is that time of year when we embark on a new year, both in church and at school. And going back to school always comes with some really big feelings: happiness, nervousness, fear, curiosity. Whether you're starting school for the first time, moving to a new school, returning to school in person, or learning virtually, we want you all to know that we are always here to support you. So as we start this new year, I wanted to give you a special keychain. It has our logo on the back. And as we start this year, this keychain will be able to go on your backpack or bag or whatever you carry with you. And some days these backpacks can feel too heavy to carry, whether that is from the amount of work that we need to do or because of the weight of our concerns or worries. And these tags, these keychains are a reminder that whenever you look at it, you will remember this wonderful, loving, supportive community and that we are with you no matter what. So along with these keychains, I wanted to offer a blessing. And a blessing is something that you can give or receive, but today I'm going to offer up a blessing for you all to receive. So if you would, I ask that you close your eyes and to open your hands as if you're about to receive a gift, because a blessing is a gift. And as I speak these words, I encourage you to imagine that they are floating around and they are landing both within your hands and in your heart, as well as on these keychains. Infinite source of creation, God of many names and none at all, spark of divine inspiration and love, we ask that you surround these children with your light. Last year was a different year. This year is unique too. We didn't get to do the things that we normally do, or We learned at home or in masks 6 feet apart, or sometimes both. We may have felt sad or alone. We carry lots of big feelings, many unanswered questions, and a bucket full of hopes. We are here ready to receive this blessing. We ask that this blessing extend to the keychains as well, so that they will be a reminder of the love and support of this community every single day. We're grateful for the gift of learning and the gift of teaching, and we are grateful for new beginnings, new ideas, and a renewed love and commitment. Blessed be, and amen.
Today's reading is an excerpt from an essay titled "Boundaries Can Be Love" by Prentice Hemphill, published in the book Holding Change by Adrienne Marie Brown. I learned first about walls. I was raised by a great storm of a father and a mother who was kind and sometimes fearful too. Our house could fill with yells and teeth-grinding fear almost as easily as it could fill with belly laughs and dancing. It was unpredictable. And almost worse than the rage was the uncertainty of where the next eruption would come from. So I built walls as a child. Very literally forts, stiff couch cushion blockades. My mother would say that I built forts just to sit in there and sweat. But I built them actually so I could breathe. I created a predictable space that could hold and protect me. It wasn't until my 20s that I realized I had become trapped in those walls, that my body had, along the way, calculated the risk of connection to be too high to engage. I had forgotten how to get out of myself and be with others. Walls can seem a lot like boundaries. They're easy to confuse. But walls more likely become a rule. They reinforce or create a static worldwide view that is transferable to other conditions, other relationships. They have a way of keeping you captive when they were once designed to keep you safe. Boundaries, on the other hand, are responsive, movable, and highly dependent on real-time assessments. Boundaries are how you guide and protect your life energy. The skillful use of boundaries allow us to create proximity, intimacy, distance. I learned that there are degrees to engagement. I can titrate my vulnerability, my trust, the deep connection without being inauthentic. Each relationship has its own unique recipe. I wrote on boundaries, defining them as the distance at which I could love me and you simultaneously. Boundaries cannot be a passive practice. Boundaries give us the space to do the work of loving ourselves. They also give us the space to love and witness others as they are, even those that have hurt us.
I have a thematically appropriate mask that says, boundary people. Our chalice lighting today honored the high holy day of Yom Kippur in the Jewish tradition, which Unitarian Universalists honor as one of the sources of our living tradition. Our Jewish siblings have just welcomed a new year on Rosh Hashanah, and on Yom Kippur, faithful are called to turn their thoughts to the repair of relationships. A friend of mine shared the words of artist Ayola Amolara Kaplan. We have an opportunity to do more than avoid perpetuating harm, because we can also heal what has been shattered by the wanton destruction of greed, intolerance, and closed hearts. Each of us has unique ways and skills we can contribute to this peace building, and Yom Kippur offers us a time to collectively refocus and restore. I love this focus on the unique skills and gifts we each have to bring to this often hurting world. I love the annual invitation to reset and to renew, to refocus and restore. As part of the development of some of my own unique skills, last year I participated in an online certificate course called Movement Chaplaincy. A part of the Faith Matters network, the course was presented by Mickey Scott Bay Jones, a well-known Christian activist and justice doula, and Hillary Allen, a fellow Unitarian Universalist minister. This course was designed to support those doing the work of spiritual companioning for people who are working in social justice spaces. When people who are activists are tired, where do they turn? People move to work for a more fair and just and equitable world come from many faith backgrounds, and of course some come from no faith backgrounds at all. But a common thread is that they give of themselves to serve others, other individuals, and the collective other of the larger world. One of the models that we studied in our movement chaplaincy course is called ring theory, and is a model for how best to provide support during a time of crisis. Described by psychologist Susan Silk and her friend Barry Goldman in a 2013 article in the LA Times, you may very well have heard of this theory as it does make frequent rounds on the internet. The basic idea is that when someone is in crisis, they sit at the center of a number of concentric rings of relationship. The people closest to the person experiencing the crisis occupy the next ring outside the center, and the rings expand outward, containing the people that have less proximity to the person in crisis. The idea with these rings is dump out, comfort in. The person in the center gets to dump their sadness, anger, frustration, whatever other emotions are arising within them. They get to dump on whoever they would like to. The people closest to the person in crisis, those in the innermost ring, can dump on anyone other than the person in crisis. In that direction, toward the center, they direct comfort and support. It's a sensible and a compassionate model. And during these past 18 months of global pandemic emergency, it hasn't always felt up to the task. The ring theory assumes single points of crisis. When Silk and Goldman published this idea 8 years ago, they were not living in a world where a global health crisis put each of us at the center of one of those rings. If we are in crisis, according to ring theory, we're allowed to dump or vent on anyone who will listen. Dumping on anyone who will listen does resonate with the world a bit right now, doesn't it? I know that I have witnessed someone having a fairly public venting session and wondered, what's going on with that person? And then, hopefully, had the grace to remind myself, oh yes, a global pandemic. Perhaps you have heard the phrase, hurt people hurt people. The notion is that harm self-perpetuates. If I am feeling too hurt by the world, I will lash out. And I don't like to admit that about myself, but it certainly can be true. We live in a time when each of us is experiencing some level of trouble or crisis. And of course, no matter what is happening with the current COVID situation, the other parts of our lives have not been put on hold. Other crises arrive. Sometimes joys arrive, sometimes sorrows. And once in a while, what we might ordinarily perceive as a very mild inconvenience suddenly takes on huge weight, has an outsized effect on our already impacted lives. All of these realities exist along with the pre-existing injustices and inequities that were already in place before the pandemic. In a 2018 article for Medium that we also read during the Movement Chaplaincy course, Namira Islam Anani adapted the ring theory for the practice of allyship, for those who are supporting the members of oppressed or marginalized communities without being members of those communities themselves. Place those most affected by injustice into the innermost circle of care. The farther away from injustice goes the theory, the more energy one may have and use to work to end that same injustice. So here we are, people who are connected and concerned with the well-being of those in community with us and those in the larger community, people aligned with the Unitarian Universalist second principle. We covenant to affirm and promote justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. We want to uphold that which is best and brightest in humanity. We want to comfort those in pain. How do we decide where to aim our comfort when everyone is in pain? How on earth do we take care of ourselves when everyone around us sits at the center of their own circle? Where and when do we find our own time to restore and refocus? Boundaries are the distance at which I could love me and you simultaneously. Mary shared that as a part of our reading by Prentice Hemphill, a teacher, writer, and conflict facilitator who works for a world where we may all heal. At the beginning of our reading, Hemphill spoke of their upbringing and the need to make literal walls, to hide in a fort made of couch cushions so they'd have space to breathe. They write, "I created a predictable space that could hold and protect me." And again, thinking of the boundaries described by the ring theory, whether applied to an individual in crisis or a group of people affected by systemic injustice, feeling held and protected is the function of the layers of people separating the person at the center from the harsher parts of reality at the outer edges. And again, I ask, what do we do when we are each at a center? We create, maintain, and honor healthy boundaries. We take up the holy reply of no. No, I can't make a meeting on that day. No, I can't drive you to the doctor tomorrow. I do have some time later in the week. Is there another errand I can help with on Wednesday or Thursday? No, I am not able to contribute at this time, though I'd support your mission. No, I'm not interested in your publication. No, I'm not comfortable talking to you when you're this upset. keep in mind that boundaries are active, lively, flexible things. Because I say no today does not mean I have said no forever. Just like saying yes one time does not mean that consent has been granted in perpetuity. From our reading again, Prentice Hemphill writes, boundaries are responsive, movable, and highly dependent on real-time assessments. Boundaries are how you guide and protect your life energy. The skillful use of boundaries allows us to create proximity, intimacy, distance. We honor one another and ourselves when we are honest about what we have and what we need at any given time. Here I'll share a little personal example. I live close to some dear friends who have several dogs. Sometimes 3, sometimes 4, depending on if their oldest son is home from college with his dog. Every once in a while, when they are out of town or their work schedules are wonky, I help out by walking their dogs for them. A few weeks ago, my friend reached out via text message. Could I help with the dogs in the next 2 days? Tomorrow morning is iffy, I wrote. I could maybe help out tonight, but only between the hours of 7 and 8:30, and I don't know how helpful that is, I wrote. I could maybe work something out tomorrow afternoon, but it kind of depends on a few other things, I wrote. And I sat there thinking as I watched the 3 dots that meant my friend was composing her reply, had I actually even answered her question? It's okay if you're busy, came my friend's reply. We just asked you first because you live the closest. And somewhat sheepishly I answered, I realized after I wrote all that, I should have just said no. Also, in our reading, Hemphill writes, it wasn't until my 20s that I realized I had become trapped in those walls, that my body had, along the way, calculated the risk of connection to be too high to engage. Bringing the body into the discussion is one way to learn to listen to yourself. After all, as aforementioned, we do have ideals. Many, even most of us, have a desire to help, to share the burden, to be present for one another in our time of need. That's at the heart of why I didn't come right out and say no to my friend. I know it can be hard to ask for help, and I want to honor the relationship that we've built by helping when I can. But it also honors our relationships when we know that we cannot promise something. What I was trying to say to my friend was, I really want to help, but I can't right now. I'm sure many of you have heard the phrase or seen it on a bumper sticker or a meme, you never know what someone is going through. Be kind. When we consider the reality of our current global situation, it is a vital truth. Another vital truth is that we should not assume we know what a person or a group of people needs. Ideally, we should ask them. This is why in theological schools and movement chaplaincy classes alike, in any space of faith development, just like the one we're in right now, we're tending to focus more on the platinum rule than the golden rule. The golden rule says, treat others as you would wish to be treated. The platinum rule says, treat others as they would wish to be treated. And of course, the best way to know how someone else would like to be treated, to know what they need, is to ask. Our movement chaplaincy training didn't give us easy answers. Those rarely exist when we talk about supporting our fellow humans or seeking to be our best selves. This is why knowing what you have and what you need in any situation is so important. If you know what you have and do not have, then you are less likely to promise something you cannot give. And if you know what you need, then if someone very earnestly comes up and tries to engage you with the platinum rule in mind, you can answer them truthfully. This is what I have. This is what I need. Saying, no, I can't help, makes space for saying, yes, I need help. It's so wonderful that so many of us want to help others. And if we do not maintain healthy boundaries, if we are not honest about giving our no when we cannot give of ourselves in that moment or to that person or in that situation, then it becomes even more challenging to pause and rest when that is what we need. Right now, we probably all need a pause or a rest. To me, this is the calling of a chaplain or a minister or any faith leader, and this is one of the most beautiful roles of the religious community. We create spaces together where we can fill our cups again. You cannot pour out from an empty cup. And it is better to admit when your cup is empty, to say no, than to promise something you do not have to give. The world does need your yes. It's true. In the words of my colleague, the Reverend Teresa Soto, all of us need all of us to make it. But the world also needs your no. It needs you to rest, to know your own limits, to know what you need and how to ask for it. It needs you to take time to refocus and restore. This is hard work. And that, my friends, is why we must do it together. For our hymn, which I do invite you to join along at home while we stay muted, I selected number 131, Love Will Guide Us, because one of its lines tells us, you can change the world with your love. Remember that your no can be just as loving as your yes, loving to others and loving to yourself. Please join in on Love Will Guide Us.
It is the practice of this congregation to share each week's offering with an organization serving our community that upholds our values. We use Share the Plate to honor our commitment to service to our local community through these generous donations to local partners. The Rainbow Rose Center, which serves York County's LGBTQIA+ community, is our Share the Plate partner for the month of September. The 100% volunteer-based organization fosters an environment of inclusion, equity, and health, where all LGBTQIA+ community members thrive in York County, Pennsylvania. The nonprofit serves the queer community by running support group programs, helping people connect to valuable resources, organizing community celebrations, and creating customized diversity and education training services for businesses to create more inclusive environments. They recently received recognition through the Downtown First 2021 Award for Outstanding Nonprofit Organization and the Keystone Business Alliance 2021 Advocate of the Year Award. In the fall of 2020, the UUCY Social Justice Committee agreed to become a preferred partner of the Rainbow Rose Center to show our support to the LGBTQIA+ community and to further promote our name and values to the wider York community. We invite those at home who lit their own chalice candle to extinguish it at this time as we read in unison. We extinguish this flame, but not the life of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we will carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Our time together has ended, and our service is just beginning. Go with many blessings into this world that needs your no as much as it needs your yes. In the words of the great poet and philosopher John O'Donohue, may the nourishment of the earth be yours. May the clarity of light be yours. May the fluency of the ocean be yours. May the protection of the ancestors be yours. So may it be.